Back in 2017, I spent a few months studying and traveling around India, and one of the many places I went to while I was studying meditation, Reiki, yoga, was at the base of the Himalayas, which is where yoga was actually born. And I went to Maharishi, his ashram, which is now famously known as the Beatles Ashram, because this is where the Beatles went in the 80s or in the 70s. And they spent a bunch of time meditating in these huge pods. It's really cool, like solo meditative pods. They would just spend all their time there isolated, meditating, and chanting. And because it's like a little dome, there's this echo, there's this vibration. It's very, very powerful. And this is actually where they ended up writing most of the songs in like the Across the Universe album. I don't know if that's actually the album, but the movie Across the Universe is one of my favorites. But anyway, they wrote a whole bunch of songs, some of their kind of weirder songs too, because of their experiences here. So what I want to talk about though is how meditation impacts not only you, but everyone around you, and the energy and the vibration of the planet, which is why it's so powerful. And Maharishi Mahesh Yogi had his own hypothesis that was then proven true. So I'm going to be breaking that down. It's really, really cool. Hey guys, welcome back to another video. My name is Karen Michelle and I'm here to help you live your truth. And this video, so Maharishi is the founder and creator of Transcendental Meditation, also known as TM, which is a very, very powerful and kind of secretive form of meditation. Now, my dad actually always studied TM, and so when I first started meditating at like 10 or 11 years old, the first few times I tried to do it was my dad teaching me and trying to teach me TM, because I was over anxious, I was really stressed out, overthinker, all that stuff, and my brother was hyper energy, super active. So my dad was trying to get us to like chill out a little bit and practice some meditation. I talk about this in my beginner's guide to meditation. I talk about why this maybe didn't work for me at that time, although I wish it would have, because it would have benefited me so much sooner had I learned the right meditation for me. But as a child, TM was a bit too much for me. It was a bit too single focused for a very imaginative and overactive mind that I had. And yeah, I think it's so important to find the meditation that works best for you, because we all have different learning styles. So if you want to know about that, make sure you check out the free meditation challenge, because that's where my beginner's guide is. That'll help you find your best style. So this whole effect that Maharishi hypothesized, and then they actually later studied, and there is proof that this worked. So even if the whole thing is, if 1% of the population in a community, say you pick a small town, or say you pick your town or city that you're in right now, if even 1% of the population there practice TM or meditation in general, because of the frequency and the energy that not only are they calibrating with, but then they're giving off, right? They're raising their vibration. That's why we call it that, even though sometimes people don't understand it. It's like you are literally raising your vibration when you meditate. So if 1% of the population in that area did it, it actually created a decrease in crime rates. It brought more loving, kindness, calmness, and centering to the community. Even the people who like less fighting, less arguments, there were so many things that they could correlate to this 1% meditating. So it didn't matter if like your neighbors and all the people on your street weren't meditating at all, but if you were practicing this, I forget for how many minutes a day, but if you were practicing this, say for like 30 minutes a day or an hour a day, because of your own personal energy vibration raising, and the fact that everything is energy and energy never dies, it just like exists, it changes, right? So if you are meditating and putting off this energy and raising the vibration, it's actually going to spread and create this impact. Okay, so it was fascinating, and they've done other tests with this too, where they can actually say on a in terms of even like police reports and the number of people like getting arrested and the extent of these things, these cases that are going on. If there's a group of the population meditating, those numbers rapidly decrease. This is why the crazy spiritual people talk about we can heal the world and we can eradicate wars if we started to meditate more and if we started to focus on the vibration of love over fear. Everything negative in our world right now is caused from a place of fear. Fear that someone else or some religion or some culture is evil, and fear that they are going to do something to us first, so we're going to do it to them instead and get the upper hand, right? Fear of lack of money, fear of that scarcity of being left on our own, being on the streets, all these things. Fear of not being loved, fear of being judged, fear of being hurt, and so we put our guard up or we hurt someone else first. Everything negative, war, famine, fear of lack of resources. So we have people in the world who have everything and we have people in the world who have nothing, instead of having an equal playing field where, you know what, there's more than enough resources, food, water, money. There's more than enough of everything on this planet for every single one of us to be content. But instead we have a hierarchy because there's this fear of like, but I need to have, or this greed of I need to have it all. There's fear of not having enough. And then there's other people who have nothing, right? So everything can be changed with the power of love and the vibration that that brings. And I know that might sound cheesy to some of you, but it's true, because when we act from our heart space, when we know that we are all spiritual beings, we are all powerful, we are creators, we are here to do something good in the world and live out our purpose. When we live and act from that space, there's nothing but love, and you just emanate it, you give it off, and you know what? People are going to benefit, people are going to rise up with you. You can all impact the world together on a positive scale. So enough about that, but this is all just about creating that raised vibration in your energy. And one thing that I want to share, where do I have it? Oh, let me do that one. Okay, so energy never dies. So this is super cool, and I want you to think of this. If you have ever been, it was in, what book was it in? It might have, I think it's in A Course in Miracles, actually. Yeah, one of the days in A Course in Miracles, they talk about, is it A Course in Miracles? They talk about, I did a video on this like a few years back when I was in Idaho, so I'm trying to think of what, it doesn't matter what book it's in. It's talking about when you go into a temple, or you can use a church if you go into a church. When you go into a church or temple, a sacred space, it's not about the building itself. It's not about the four walls. It's not about the decorations or the stained glass, although those things might be beautiful, right? When you walk into that place, it's about the energy that you feel. And if you've ever been into a building that had this kind of powerful and peaceful energy take over you, you know what that's like, right? I'm not a religious person, but I know when I walked into some of the churches in France and Italy, and some of these like very long-standing places that had been around for years and years and years, right? I felt the energy. Yes, they were beautiful and that was awesome, but like I could feel the energy walking in there of love, of peace. You feel that tranquility, right? That's why we always say like churches are like a safe space, right? Because it's supposed to, like, typically they're supposed to have this energy of safety, of comfort, of knowing that you're not alone. Well, it's not about being in that physical space. It's not about being in those four walls that makes it magical. It's the energy that is there because so many people have come over their lifetimes and come to that place, created that energy, been a part of it, felt that safety. They've prayed and they've sent love to people, to God, to whoever they believe in, right? They've given off these positive vibes, and energy never dies. So the church or the temple is literally just a house for that energy and for that prayer and for that love. That is why it's so powerful. That is why it feels so beautiful, so safe. Okay? conversely, you go into someone's house and they are a very, very negative person, or they are extremely weighed down by their struggles, depressed, anxious, like all the whole 9 yards, in a really hard place, you feel that energy, because that energy doesn't just exist within them, it exists within their whole living space. It ripples out, that vibration spreads, right? You can, like, whether you're in tune with energy or not, you pick up on these things. And we've all been to a place, someone's house, or maybe a store, or even like at an event, and you just, like, there's people talking over in the corner even, and you kind of have this like bad energy where you're just like, I don't really think I want to go talk to them. Like, nah. So like that is because of their energy, and because we are all energetic beings, so we can connect, we can feel, we pick up on that stuff. Some people more than others. Some of us are very in tune. I know I am. That's been a huge part of my journey, learning how to control that and guard myself from those energies so I don't get weighed down, because that used to be what happened. But we pick up on it, and this is also why like mediums and people who do channel work and like connecting with spirit, this is why they do sometimes like clearings in houses, because there could be bad energy in a house from the person who lived there before them, right? Like maybe you buy a house and you don't know who lived there before you. Maybe they did something really bad there. Maybe they were not a good person. That energy still exists. So this is why this video has gone way further than what I wanted, but that's why there is power in like using sage and using different things to clear that energy out. Okay, I'll do another video on that if you guys would find that helpful. Let me know in the comments. If you are enjoying this so far, please give it a thumbs up. Make sure you've subscribed and turned on the notification bell so you don't miss anything. So the whole reason I wanted to bring this up is because I've been meaning to do this video for weeks now, since that collective meditation on April 4th, 2020, right? 444. Because in numerology, you would add these up. So it's 444, which was a really powerful energy portal that was opening. That's why everyone around the world was sharing. And I mean, there's no way to know how many people meditated, because how would we know? But I know I read in a few places people were saying like over 1 million people. Someone said over 1 billion. Was that true? I don't really know. It would be cool if it was. But at least 1 million people were meditating on 444. And the reason it's so powerful comes back to this Maharishi effect. So even if a small population of the whole a small percentage of the whole population is meditating, they're all raising their vibration. They're all getting out of the 3-dimensional physical reality. They're getting above the 4-dimensional matrix, which is the media. It's the fear-based. It's the collective energy that bogs people down because it's always focused on the negative, which is why the media does it. They want us to stay down and stay small. We got into the 5th dimension, 5D, which is when you get into love. You get into love or above, all that positive stuff, and you are raising up into a different frequency, into a different vibration. And so many people were doing it that they actually could recognize, and we saw a huge spike in the Schumann resonance. And this is crazy, okay? Because the Schumann resonance is the frequency of the planet. They have been studying this for years. If you Google it, you can find graphs, you can see, you can read about what it is, right? It's the electromagnetic frequency, because in the center of the earth, now I'm getting on a huge tangent. In the center of the earth, there is a crystal core, or like a magnetic core. It is magnet, right? Think about now the moon, which has its powers, and not powers, but like it has the power to impact the tide and the oceans, right? And the gravitational pull. Now the oceans, we have the tide going in and out depending on where the moon is, right? That is the power. But the magnetic core in the earth impacts the I just had the word Well, because it's a magnet, it has a pull. Oh, and also gravity, right? Because everything's being pulled down. The further we get into the core of this earth, the more dense it is, right? It's one-dimensional in the core of the earth. Then it's two-dimensional, making up the earth, all the things that come together, all the little particles and things. And then when we get outside the earth, and the earth itself is three-dimensional, we're three-dimensional, and then it goes up into four-dimensional, five-dimensional, 6, 7, 8, 9, right? So the core of the earth is magnetic, which means that it can be tested. Now, our bodies are highly magnetic. People don't realize this. We have actually magnetic impulses in our brains and in our hearts. This is why, if you study, and like the Heart Math Institute is a beautiful place to check out for this, but if you look at your heart, it actually has magnetic impulses, and it actually this comes down to like the science behind manifestation, is that there's actually like little magnets being released in your brain when you have new thoughts, when you're believing things, right? All these different things, and in the heart as well. And your heart has its own neural networks typically. Like, obviously it's a heart version because it's not in the brain, but it's the exact same thing. The exact same neural networks and the exact same ability exists in your heart too. And that's really powerful. So when we look at our personal connection, we look at the connection to the planet, to Mother Earth, the magnetic core, right? And then we have magnetic abilities, or like traits or characteristics, or whatever the word is, right, in us. So this is why we're connected, right? We're connected to the earth, basically, is all I needed to say for this instead of rambling and like half making sense. We're connected to the earth. So when we did this collective meditation, so the normal frequency, the normal electromagnetic frequency of the earth is 7.83 hertz. If you've listened, or if you're a fan of watching the different kind of frequency vibrational music on YouTube, I love it. I listen to it all the time. There's different frequencies for different things. The higher it is, the different brain states it brings you into, right? Different levels of peace and emotions you're feeling. Sometimes you want to listen to ones that help you stay grounded, stay centered, right? Those are going to be lower because this is the frequency of the planet, right? So you're grounding to the earth. Get it? Now, the higher ones are taking you into higher frequencies, higher levels. That's bringing you out of your body. That's bringing you into different brain states. That's bringing you into different levels of awareness, different meditative energies, right? The place where you disconnect from your body a bit, you lose yourself, you become part of your soul or the spirit, your greater self, okay? On that day, on April 4th, 2020, the Schumann resonance was at 76 hertz. It is usually at 7.83. So it spiked up insanely high because of the million or millions of people who are meditating. So this just goes to show that this energy is powerful, and it does so much more than we realize. So even if you can meditate every day for a little bit and get into this vibration, get into this frequency, you are going to notice an impact on yourself, and it's going to ripple out to other people because of the way this collective energy works, because of the way that energy never dies. So Maharishi, the beautiful yogi, was onto something, and he was really, really ahead of the game in believing this in some ways. And it took a long time for like science and our logical minds, which look for proof versus trusting the feeling, trusting the intuition, before we caught up and we agreed with it and could actually scientifically back it and say that it was true. But everything about this is so powerful because it proves that the more we do this work, the more we all individually rise into a place of love and we leave that fear energy behind, the more we work on raising our vibration into the fifth dimension versus staying in the third or fourth, the more we just work on feeling good in who we are and what we're doing each day, we are spreading that energy out, and it does actually create a ripple effect. It does actually send those waves of energy out to people, to your community. You're leaving it everywhere you go. So even if you go into the grocery store and you're on this beautiful energy vibe, right? You're riding the wave in the grocery store, that energy will be left there. So you can leave these beautiful traces of energy everywhere you go. You can uplift people. You can help be a part of the shift. The more you do it, the more you practice it, the more powerful it's going to be, right? Be a part of the great awakening that is happening right now, because we are at a crossroads of whether we let the whole corruption, greed, control people rule everything, or whether we finally rise up and say, you know what, this is not what we want. We're here for something more. We're here to create a better world. We need to start making changes and doing things that actually help the planet and help each other. So I'm really excited because these next few years are going to be crazy cool. And I think it's the rise of the spiritual leaders. I think it's the rise of people who actually give a shit about what matters here. And I'm excited to be one of those people involved. So please, again, hit the thumbs up, share, subscribe, turn on notifications. If you have any questions, if you want me to dive into any of this anymore, if you have any specifics from this, let me know. I'd love to film some videos about this. And stay high vibe, my friends. Bye.